Moving on now, though, let's talk about yet more stories about Kate, the Princess of Wales. A data watchdog is now investigating a major security breach for the Princess of Wales. This after reports that staff at her private hospital tried to gain unauthorised access to her medical records. This comes as new polling shows that over half the British public have seen conspiracy theories about her health. Joining me now is former press secretary to the late Queen and former director of communications at Number 10 for Gordon Brown. That's Simon Lewis. Good morning to you, Simon.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm wondering, when you were working at Buckingham Palace, did you ever have to deal with the sort of furore that we are seeing over not just the King's health, obviously, and information having to be given out about his cancer treatment, but the conspiracy theories and the furore over the Princess of Wales having an operation, going out of the public limelight for so long? Did you ever deal with anything of that ilk?
Well, as you know, Julie, it was a long time ago, and 1998 to 2000, and what struck me about that time, it was completely dominated by newspapers, and you wrote for them. They were edited by people like Piers Morgan and my partner, David Yelland, in our podcast, and they sold millions and millions of copies. And so the whole royal world was covered by newspapers and television. And what we're now seeing is that has exploded into the internet world. And as you rightly say, there's a survey yesterday saying that 50% of people surveyed had gone online to look at conspiracy theories. So people doing my job now at Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace have a completely different beast to deal with. And I do think...
I was going to say, like, even the 24-hour news made an issue, but 24-hour news became the problem, and then social media has made it, exacerbated it beyond anything else.
Exactly, and one of the judgments you always have to make in these situations is how far do you go to comment on speculation? I mean, just very quick reminder, there were two statements, one about the princess's health, one about the king's health. Both of them were factually correct. They both came out at the same time, coincidentally. We have seen the king, and that's entirely right. We haven't seen the Princess of Wales. She is recovering. This extraordinary story, if true, is just another reminder, Julie, to me of what is going on with privacy. Why can't a member of the royal family expect to go to hospital, which is a traumatic time for anyone, and not have their records allegedly looked into? I just find this debate about privacy and where you should draw the line very difficult, because I think people should be much more understanding, actually.
Doesn't this come about, though, as a result of effectively I suppose, the celebrification of the royal family, particularly the younger royals? We saw this with the, arrival of Meghan and the treatment of the royals as celebrities. People talk about as being royal fans. And actually, when you do that, then you take away a little bit of the mystique. And also people have this thing where, well, I demand to see another picture of the future Queen. I see a picture every day. I haven't seen her for a while. What's going on? And that fuels it all. In terms of the palace's reaction to this news, it was a scoop from the Mirror newspaper that a staff had been, we don't know whether it's one member or more than one member, had been trying to totally illegally and wrongly access her private medical files in a hospital which is used by royals. It was used by the king, used by American presidents, because it's renowned for the privacy and the secrecy and the protection that people have. In terms of the palace reaction, they're saying, look, this is a matter for the hospital. But talk us through what would be going on behind the scenes in the palace.
Well, by the way, they're right. It is a matter for the hospital, and as you say, it's got a fantastic reputation, this hospital, and deservedly so. I suspect what's going on in the palace is what should be going on, which is a bit of longer-term planning for when the Princess of Wales is able to be seen in public a bit more, planning for what she might do, planning for what she might say. Because I've always believed in these roles, you've got to try and think 2 or 3 steps ahead, and I'm certain that when we do see the Princess of Wales again, and she says something, it's like everything will blow over.
Yeah.
Because the royal family has to be visible. And for whatever reason, emotional set of reasons, people do get very jumpy when they're not. As I say, I think it's completely legitimate, but I do think inside Kensington Palace and Buckingham Palace, they'll be thinking, how do we move this on? Prince William's out doing his work in Sheffield with homelessness. I mean, there's an agenda of interesting issues for the royal family as well. But of course, it's a smaller royal family than when you and I first knew each other.
And it's more noticeable, exactly, when two of the major figures, the most popular figures, are actually out of action. Do you think, though, look,
yes.
you as you said, you do a podcast, you give advice to people. You used to advise a prime minister, you used to give advice to the late Queen. Do you not think that palace flunkies have flunked this time round by thinking they were ever going to be able to get through all of these months without people starting these conspiracy theories, without people trying to attempt to find out what was going on. And that, look, you and I think most of my audience would be saying, look, poor woman, she's had some serious surgery. Obviously, she was in hospital for 13 nights. She's recuperating. We don't know what it is. Don't need to know what it is. We don't need to know what every single person we've ever seen on telly has got in terms of their private medical situation. We're not trying to find out, but other people are. But for the palace flunkies not to have thought, people are going to try and find this out. People are going to start theories. We need to handle this in advance. Would you have handled this differently?
Well, I've no idea. And by the way, I wasn't a flunky. I don't think they are flunkies.
Not you, Simon. You were very senior.
You may have thought I was a flunky, but I thought, I mean, actually, these are serious people. These are serious advisors. And the challenge you have when you're in that role is exactly the same thing. You've got people in public life and people who have families and family lives. And this is always a delicate balance. So I'm sure the people inside the palace now, who are a very good team, will be balancing that. I mean, the family photograph being a good example. I'm a great believer. We look at this, and when it hits the fan, you either have a cock-up or a conspiracy. And I think everything we're seeing around this so far has been a cock-up rather than a conspiracy. And that photograph, people have really moved on for it. But it's just a reminder, as you say, the obsessive interest there is in the minutiae of what's happening in the royal family. Managing that and anticipating it, I think, is what defines good advice in the palace.
That's the key thing. If you were in charge, not a flunky, a senior figure at the palace right now, Simon Lewis, what would you be advising Kate and William to do?
I think I'd be advising to do exactly what they're doing. Prince William is going back to his engagements, and he's always has a fantastic impact. I saw the images from Sheffield. The Princess of Wales is obviously getting fitter. The summer's always an active time for the royal family. I've no idea, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of the summer events that the royal family like to go to would be a great opportunity to see more of Kate. What I would not be advising to do is to rush anything else out. I do think in royal life, rushing at things in the way that politicians rush at things, by and large, never works. People have a very different view of the royal family and what they expect of it. And that poll yesterday made it very clear that trust in the royal family is still at a very high level. And it doesn't surprise me.
Really good to talk to you. Simon Lewis, thank you very much indeed for